Okay, so we've got all our siliconing done around the edges, around our openings, so we're looking pretty tight here. I've got the primer mixed, so I'm just gonna pour my primer on the floor. And, whoa, you can just see it cruise to the wall. That's what we're dealing with for out of levelness here. And I'm just going to fully saturate all the plywood. And the manufacturer of this product is telling me that I've got to let it dry until it's transparent and a little tacky. So we're just going to get this whole floor covered and then do a little cleanup and probably get ready for pouring the self-leveler. Okay, so we've poured two batches of self-leveler on this floor. I think it's going to be fairly close. We're going to have to let this dry overnight, check it with the level tomorrow, see if we need to add another little topping mix to get in this area. I believe the floor is kind of level in this area and then drops off that way. So I think it's going to be good to go, but we'll check it with the level tomorrow. Okay, so yesterday we poured 2 5-gallon pails of self-leveler compound on this floor. You can see here with the level that we are getting quite close. That is my correction now. So from nothing to 1/4 of an inch, rather than it was 1 1/4 inches yesterday. So we're going to begin by re-priming this whole floor, the plywood, as well as the self-level compound that's here. And mix our last final batch and pour it across the whole floor, and then this thing tomorrow should be ready to put in our shower base, and we've got a nice level floor to work off of to put our new tile in. So yeah, we're going to start with the primer. Okay, so I'm at the back door entrance here where I finished doing my dry fit for my floor tile. I want to tile this back entrance from the built-in base to the tile edge that I'm going to put across here. So it'll be tile floor to the tile edge to the epoxy floor that I'm going to put down on this side. So when I was doing the dry fit, I noticed that there is quite a drop in the floor. When I was finishing the concrete here and exiting through the door, I left it a little bit low here, and it's quite noticeable when I had the dry fit down on the floor. So what I want to do is set a wood form across this edge here and use the level base is my indicator to the height and pour a self-leveling concrete patch over top of this to level out the pockets. So I'm going to take you closer to the floor to show you the inconsistencies with it, so you can see up close the pocket in which the self-leveling compound is going to go into. If you remember when I leveled the base, I was good on the left side, and you can see it shimmed up about a quarter inch to 3/8 of an inch in that corner. Then from that corner, it drops right down in here about 3/8 of an inch, and then back up around here to normal. So you can see there's a little line underneath there. If I use my longer straight edge, you can see it even more. This is a nice, perfectly straight cut piece of wood, great to use for a straight edge. And you can see that if I level it to the underside of the base and go towards where the tile is going to go, I've got 3/8 of an inch gap underneath this board. So that's the pocket that I'm going to fill in with the self-leveling compound. So now that you've seen up close how this floor dips down in the center, I'm going to begin prepping to pour the self-leveling compound. To do that, I'm going to use construction adhesive. You could use a silicone as well, just to fill this void that's underneath the base to stop the leveling compound from just flowing underneath there. And you can see underneath here, the wall plate on this side will stop it as well. I'll probably still run a bead of the adhesive down there, and then I'm gonna use a wood form across this edge to prevent the leveling compound from getting over past that point. So it's flush to the ground here and off the concrete about 3/8 there, and filling this pocket level back to the door. So yeah, so I'm just gonna get my construction adhesive and fill that joint. Okay, so you can see that I've got the gap, the little small gap that would be underneath the wall filled on this edge, and I've got the gap that was about 1/4 inch to nothing across the base filled in. So I'm just going to let this dry as I prepare the wood form that goes across here, and then mix up the self-leveling compound. Okay, so here is the wood form that I'm going to use. It's just the casing material that I've used around my doors and windows. I'm going to put it on my line that's on the floor here where my tile edge is going, and then I'm going to weight it down with a couple of floor tiles that I have left over from upstairs in the house. And that should hold this form in perfect position until the compound dries. Okay, so I'm right on my line from when I did the dry fit for my tile. So here's 4 tiles that I use for my steam shower upstairs. That should be sufficient enough weight to hold that form in place. Probably put a few more on this side as well, just in case. These are some tiles I got left over from the floor that I did in my kids' washroom upstairs. Real nice tiles, super heavy. Alright, so now I've got my form in place here. Got it weighed down with some floor tiles and some wall tiles that I've used in the house upstairs. Got my joint filled in across the sides here. I've used my level to determine that it's good across this edge, good to this corner, then needs to be filled up about 1/4 inch to this corner. Then it drops down to about 3/8 pocket here to about 1/4 inch in the corner. So it's level where I'm sitting right here, and it's going to fill up in this section here. So I'm ready to start mixing up my self-leveling compound. I'm going to give the floor a wipe down with a nice clean rag. The product I'm using suggests that I wet the concrete a little bit before I pour the mixture on top. So I'm going to clean it once with the wet rag, and then right before I pour the material on, I'll give it another nice wipe down. Okay, so I've cleaned off all the drywall mud and debris that is in this area. I'm ready to mix up my mix, give it one more wet down, and then pour my mix on top. Okay, so now the area is clean and ready to go. I've got my self-leveling compound in the pail, got my mixing drill and mixer, and a couple of trowels to help move the mixture into its level position. And the other things I used before were the 4-foot level, 8-foot long straight edge, and the construction adhesive to block off the joints. So I'm just going to mix up my mix and get ready to pour it in. So you can see that that mix is nice and thin. I am going to add just a little bit more water so it's got a little bit more flow when I pour it. Okay, that looks perfect. I'm going to get ready to pour it in. Okay, so got my self-leveling compound mixed. Got a couple of trowels to help level it out a little bit, and my wet rag to wet the floor. The product that I'm using suggests that you wet the floor to help with bonding two layers together. So just going to give it a quick wipe and then begin to pour my product in, and hopefully it'll just slump down and level in nice. Okay, so I've got my product here mixed up. The floor is wet, the form is set, and the glue is dry. I'm going to start pouring it in the problem areas, which are that corner and filling in this pocket that's here, and then see what the material does for as far as flattening right out. If I need to add more, I will add some more until I see it filling in here and troweling flat on this edge. So here we go. Okay, so this is getting fairly flat and has filled the void that I had right there. I brought it up to its full height in the corner, its full height on the form, screeded that line straight, brought it from the corner down about a foot away from the other corner, and then this spot was kind of high and good, like the elevation we were trying to match to, so no need to spread on here. And I'm just going to trowel this a little bit more. Then this product dries in a couple of hours to the touch. It says you're not supposed to really tile on top of it for 24 hours, so I'll just leave this for a couple of days just to make sure, and glue down my dry fit tile floor. Okay, so now that the leveling compound is troweled flat and had some time to dry a little bit, because I'm attaching tiles to it, it suggests that I have a rough surface to the mix so that the tiles thin set will bond to it. So if I was doing patch for VCT tiles or tiles that just get glued directly to the concrete that would show imperfections, I would trowel this another couple of times just to get a nice and perfect glass finish to it. But since I'm using another product to bond ceramic tiles to this floor, I'm going to use my broom and broom some lines into it so that it's got some coarse texture for the thin set to adhere to. Alright, so now I've got a nice broom finish on top of my self-leveling patch on the floor. So I'm just going to let this dry for a couple of days and I'll be ready to glue down my tile. Okay, so when I filled my self-level floor patch in here, I did need to go with the second coat. the maximum thickness that I was allowed to pour at one time was 3/8. I kind of went around 1/4 inch, and then after it dried, I used my straight edge level to kind of go off this edge and around over here, and saw that there was another pocket that I needed to fill a second layer over top of. So, you know, once you pour your self-leveling compound and it dries, it's always a good idea to check again. And in my case, I had to go through it one more time. When I poured the leveling stuff right in this area, I used a wood block that was nice and straight, about the same length as my level, and I just screeded the material like this to flatten it on this side, and I carried it all the way through. And then when this is dry, I've checked it with my long straight edge again, which I'm going to show you here in a second, and you'll see that this floor is now perfectly true and ready to have the tile glued down to it. So as you remember from the earlier shots that I did have about a 3/8 dip in the floor. You can see along the edge on the underside here that as I screed along, it's all within 1/8 of an inch now. So feeling really good that the floor is nice and level, and I'm gonna sweep up, kind of rub off these loose flakes of stuff, and then this will be ready to go. Nice rough texture for the thin set to adhere to. So yeah, hopefully this helps with what you've got going at your place.